friends, and welcome in my channel, Anna's Passion channel. I hope you will enjoy today's session. Today's session, it will be flower making. Who doesn't like flowers? I absolutely love making foamiran and also paper flowers, where I can use them on my mixed media projects and also on card making tutorial. But probably you're thinking about what flower you're gonna make in today. So today I will be making a rose. Rose, it's kind of like a difficult flower to make because it's got so many layers. The petals are very ruffled, and it's quite difficult for some of you who actually mentioned to me in the comments on my other social media that how do you actually make roses looking so nice, so full, and they really rounded, because it's really difficult to keep a control on petals, how they actually lie up. So I thought we'll just share this simplest rose tutorial with you, how to make foamiran rose, and you will need only 4 layers of foamiran to make a beautiful rose. Let me just grab a couple of the roses so you can see how quick and how easy you can actually make a rose, how gorgeous that rose is. And I promise you, you will love and you will enjoy this tutorial. This one is a little bit of a dramatic because I've added black ink around the edges of the petals. So that's something we can also do, just not to be so plain, just not to be so super boring, I suppose. You can just experiment and see what works for you. So without any further ado, I'm gonna reverse the camera on my desk and we're gonna meet and create a rose together, just with the 4 layers of foamiran. So let's dive into it and let's make a rose together. So welcome at my desk. We're gonna need, for this rose tutorial, for this flower making tutorial, a very basic tools, and for that we're gonna need 4 layers of foamiran. So I have my already cut out. If you're not sure what foamiran is, if you come across that word foamiran for the very first time, this is a very thin foam where you can actually use and warm up on the iron to make flowers. We're gonna need a piece of kitchen foil, we're gonna need a toothpick, of course we're gonna need an iron. Mine is just an old ordinary iron with the steam off, and the temperature on my iron is between 2 and 3 dots. Now if your iron is too hot on the position where my iron is, now you can slightly decrease it and you can work it and test it with, for example, using scraps once you've cut out your shapes of the petals, just to make sure it will not bend, it will not melt your foamiran too quick, because we just need to basically warm our foamiran to shape our petals. And of course we're gonna need a hot glue gun. We're gonna need hot glue gun to seal all layers. This is the very quickest option to use with making flowers. If you, for example, working with foamiran, if you're working, for example, with paper, you can use a glue, for example, tacky glue, and some glue which obviously quickly dries. You don't want to use a glue with a long length of dryness. So that's the tip what you can do. And of course I will be working today with Lady Design dies. I will be working with flower 13 today, and for my rose I will need 2 layers of the larger die and 2 layers of the one below. So we're gonna have 4 layers for our rose. So what we're gonna do with our layers, we're gonna fold our petals together. So we're gonna try to be as neat as possible, just to level them one after another. So we're basically aiming for something like this, okay? And what we're gonna do next, we're gonna just base every layer as we're holding in our fingers gently on the iron. Basically we're gonna just get rid of the rough edges, what we can sometimes get when we're using our die cut machine, Big Shot or any other machine what you are using. So that's how you can get rid of all the rough edges. And then when we've got those ready, we're just holding at the end of the layer like so, and then we're gonna just go from the top and the bottom, top and the bottom. We're gonna just warm our end of the petals like so. You can just take a moment working on this Okay, I think we are good to go. I'm gonna move my iron aside a little bit, and I'm gonna just twist gently, one holding back and one pulling to front. So this is what I'm creating. Okay, so we're gonna have a shape like S. There we go. Then we can just unfold all our layers. You can do that one by one, and basically you can do that while the foamiran is still warm, because you don't want your petals stick in together. And then we're gonna just unfold the layer, and it is good to go. And the same process we're gonna repeat on all of the rest 3 layers. So we're gonna just fold our layers together, our petals one on another, like so. And we're gonna just firstly warm up the edges of our petals from the center, like so. And then we're gonna go at the end of the petals, going from top to the bottom, just gently touching the iron. There we go. And then we're gonna just twist it in our fingers. Just be very gentle with that, because you don't want to rip your foamiran and split the petals in the center. Because the foamiran is very thin and is very flexible once it's warmed up on the iron, so that's the reason you have to be kind of gentle. And what I also found that the foamiran which is colored, for example, with very pigmented colors, like for example red, brown, it's tend to really be more delicate than the other colors of the foamiran. The hardest foamiran, the one what I really found it is really like difficult to tear, is white foamiran. But any foamiran that is heavy pigmented, it is easy to get torn. So just to give you a bit of a tip there, so you will have that to take away, and whenever you will be working with any different colors. So I have my 3rd layer ready. Just unfolding every petals like so. Be gentle. You don't have to rush this process. And then you can just press in the center to just make sure it's nicely flattened down. And then we're gonna just work on the last layer. Okay, so we're just folding petals one on another, and we are warming the edges of our petals from the center, and then we are working from top and bottom at the end of our petals. So we've got that nicely warmed up, and then we can just pull it. There we go. So that's what we are aiming for. So let's just unfold this layer, and we're gonna start and working and making our rose. I hope these steps are super simple for you. Like I said, I always try to be as simple as possible, so you're not gonna be overwhelmed with the flower making tutorial, as I know for some it could possibly be a little bit of a challenge, especially when you first time starting making flowers. So now I will be creating the cone for the center of my rose. So I've got a piece of foil that was basically a piece of, like, let's say maybe 8 by 8 centimeters roughly, and then I'm just gonna make a little ball, and then I'm gonna just shape a cone from it. Okay, just try to squash it and make it as neat as possible, and try to press it quite firmly, so this end of our cone, it will be kind of a low. You don't want to make a long cone. You've got to have like a wide base and short as well. Okay, so that's what I am aiming for. Now I'm gonna grab a poking tool, and I'm gonna make a hole in the center of my cone, like so. Just be careful so you're not going to poke your fingers, because it's kind of small to work with. So I have a little hole in the center, and now I'm going to take a toothpick, going to apply a bit of a glue on it. Okay, and I'm going to just push my toothpick inside of created hole. That way I will have a possibility to work on my layers quite easy, and I will know that the toothpick will not fall out, and it will create a bit of a problem for me to work on my flower. So I'm going through the first layer, so I'm gonna just push it down like so, and with the hot glue I'm just gonna go right at the top of my cone and on the side, because I will be covering the whole cone as much as possible. So obviously that will help me to create the nice center of my rose, so it's like nicely opening up. So this is what I have so far, and then I'm gonna go for one petal across, and I'm gonna just apply a bit of a glue as well. There we go. And then I'm gonna just crinkle it up like this, so it's like halfway open, so it's like covering part of the one petal what is actually sticked and covering the cone. So basically my kitchen foil is not visible. And then I can just go and work on the petals. So I'm adding a bit of a glue at the bottom, and I'm just pulling my petals one by one. Now you don't have to rush this process. You can take your time, but like I said, be very careful with working with a hot glue gun, because I don't want you to burn your fingers, because this part it can be a little bit of tricky because it's kind of small, so it's difficult to actually you know, maybe not to get burned, but just be careful. Okay, then I'm adding a bit of a glue on my last petal. There we go. Okay, and we have a center of our opening rose ready. Okay, now I'm gonna go with the second layer, the smaller layer. I'm just gonna poke it in the center. Okay, and this part is getting a little bit easier now when we're working on our flower. Now we're gonna position our layer so it's not overlapping the petals from previous layer, and I'm gonna add a gentle amount of a glue and just gonna pull the petal and then stick on top of the previous layer. And then I'm just gonna work one petal at a time, and then just create a nice shape for my rose. A bit of a glue, that will be my third petal. A little bit of a glue, that will be my fourth petal, and the last petal. Can you see how quickly and how easy your rose is starting getting a nice shape? So that's 2 layers ready. Now we can go and pull our third layer. The third layer is also so easy. Basically you just need to position your petals so it's not overlapping, like so. So it's like kind of like a halfway through from the previous petal. That way you're gonna build a nice roundy shape for your flower. And on the third layer you really don't need to do much work. Basically what you just need to do is just seal your layer from the bottom. So you're adding a bit of a glue, there we go, and just pushing it down. So basically you don't touch in any of your petals. They are already lined up the way how you position them. So you just push in a little bit from the bottom just to make sure your layers will sealed, and then you go in on the last 4th layer. So basically you just position your petals, there we go, and all you need to do, just add a bit of a glue to seal all the petals together. There we go. Now your rose is ready. Look how quick, how simple, how easy that rose actually was created, literally in a few moments. Now if you want to be a little bit courageous, now you can grab your ink. I have a black jet, I have a ink. I'm gonna dab a little bit on my blending tool, and I'm gonna just gently rub the ink on my petals. There we go. Now if you want to do a little bit differently, you can go and add the ink before you actually start working on your petals. This is on your layers. This is what I usually would have done. This is what I usually would have create. However, when you add in a ink like this, you basically just touching end of the petals, so it's super quick, super easy to actually do it rather than just over ink it at some point. There we go. So we've got this very dramatic rose ready. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. There we go. So we've got our rose ready. How cool that will look on your card. How cool that will look on your, for example, mixed media project. Now, if you want to be courageous as well, you can add a bit of a, for example, what you call it, Nuvo drops, just to add them a little bit, like a little drops, like it was splat with water, if that's something what you're wanting to go for. Basically what you're doing now, you're just pulling it, your toothpick, there we go, and your rose is ready. So this one is with ink and this one is without the ink. There we go. Now you can use other sizes of the dies from the set if you fancy creating, for example, maybe smaller rose. I think this size of a rose will be going nicely on any project, adding a little bit of two smaller different flowers just to have a bit of a contrast, so it will be nice bouquet created. So let me just bring the rest of my roses so you can see how they look. And that will be everything for this tutorial, my lovely friends. Please leave me a comment in the section below or under the video if you do like this kind of tutorials, if you do like flower making tutorials, and if you give me a little bit of a shout out, if you do share this video on your social media, so your friends also would like to maybe join in and maybe learn the techniques from my tutorials, from my channel. I would greatly appreciate that. I'm gonna just go and finish at that, sending you all love and kisses, and till the next time, bye for now, bye bye.